Oh yeah, we don't have to look up there.
All right. Here we are. We are live on Homestead Basics. Hey, you guys.
Hello, Dee. Hello, hello.
We have welcome to our first Conversations With. This is a new program that we're doing with National Self-Reliance Project and Homestead Basics. So we are super excited to have the Rankins with us. And the Rankins, so we have Kurt, raise your hand, Kurt.
Hello.
And then we have his son, Chase, and then
Hello.
the most beautiful of them is refusing to get on camera, which is Dawn, and that's Kurt's lovely wife. We might be able to coax her out. But yeah, we're just going to be talking to the Rankins. They are, and you guys just fill in the blanks for me, but you guys are homesteaders, you're serial entrepreneurs. And, you know, with 2020, everybody has a story about what their life looked like in 2020. And what I have found with the National Self-Reliance Project is that a lot of people are thinking, yeah, maybe it's time that we get a little serious about our gardens or, you know, homesteading or getting the heck out of the rat race because it's more of a rat race than ever. So, yeah, we're just going to talk about homesteading. We're going to talk about your business. We're going to talk about what 2020 looked like. And of course, we're going to be sipping on some slimming hot cocoa, which is the thing. Yeah, this is awesome. What better than slimming hot cocoa when everybody has put on their quarantine 15, but it's probably now like quarantine 40. So a little slimming hot cocoa going into the cold, blustery months is a good thing. So
for sure. Yeah. Right. You know, if you get your fall gardens going, you can start adding to, taking off with some slimming cocoa and lose some of that quarantine 40.
I know it. Or quarantine 60. It's, I don't know. The numbers keep climbing. It's So, but you guys haven't put on any quarantine 14s or 15s or whatever it is. So tell us, what is, from a homesteader's point of view, what has 2020 look like for you guys?
Well, first off, I'd like to talk. 2020 has been an exciting year. We can talk about the negative stuff, and it's human nature to drop right into that negative stuff. But it's been exciting for us. And before we get too far off into it, we're on the Homestead Basics here, but we really think of ourselves more as self-reliance minded. Homesteading kind of has a broad definition in our mind, and people go from all the way back to no modern conveniences back in the 1800s or so to modern conveniences now off grid or even having electricity grid tied. So there's all kinds of variances, but we like to talk about just being more self-reliant, not having to rely on going to the store every day or having to go to town. If we can fix something, let's do our best to fix it or utilize it. If we get thrown a pitch that we can't hit, all right, let's think of a different way around it and figure out how to fix it and do what we have with what we've got. So that's kind of where our family leans in the homesteading section, probably more off to the self-reliance piece. But, so as far as 2020 goes, our garden business, the nutraceutical business, all of that really took off, especially as people were looking at standing in line, seeing empty shelves, limits on produce that you could buy, those types of things we hadn't seen in our lifetime in our area. So people wanted to start growing some gardens. They wanted to start doing some things for themselves. Plus, they were at home being quarantined and they had more time on their hands.
Yeah. And have you guys noticed, it's crazy. Every time I go to the grocery store now, so it's just my husband and I, and somehow the prices have gone up. I mean, if you go out to a restaurant, the bill is at least 20% higher. The grocery store, we can't, it's crazy. And it's hard to really identify, but, I think, we're experiencing some of the changes in the cost of produce and food since this whole quarantine thing has happened. And it makes sense. But it's the first time that I'm really thinking, wow, we need to go back to our couponing and getting more serious about our gardens and getting more serious about really making our groceries list, because it is in the last 6 weeks we've noticed a huge difference in the cost of food, but whether it's prepared for us or we get it at the grocery store. So.
Right. And I think on average in the United States, we spend under 10% of our income on food. So, historically we've had a cheap food policy, and I think we're starting to see a change in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of scary, but we were talking, Jason, we were talking earlier about, toilet paper. I don't know. I guess maybe the price has gone up there. It's just not on sale. The great toilet paper. Yeah. I mean, what is that about? What is that going to look like in the history books, right?
Right. And what drove that?
Right.
The herd nature. One person saw something and the next person picked it up and it just multiplied. Yep.
Yeah. But I'm not going to lie. I did get a little extra toilet paper for just after the election, because things are crazy. So anything can go this year, right? And I'm not wishing that. I'm not putting it out there, but I got my toilet paper. That's.
I think that's what 2020 showed everybody, was that it can happen fast. And so even with without much warning or without you having a say in it, things can change overnight, basically. And so that preparation, being able to be a little more self-reliant at whatever percentage they can be, I think is what opened a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah. No, it's going to be, I oftentimes think about what our kids are going to read in the history books. And with that, Chase, you've been homeschooling. I mean, you were homeschooled. We did earlier in quarantine and COVID, feels like 100 years ago, we did a whole homeschool program, and I had some technical challenges. So we don't have that. But I mean, I often think about this when I hear about the schools opening, closing, doing pods. Can my kids go back to school? Can they not go back to school? I mean, I can only imagine that you're just sort of breathing a sigh of relief being homeschoolers, and not much has changed for you guys, right?
That's true. Yeah. So it's business as usual for us with the homeschooling. So we've, just like every other year, we picked up the curriculum we're going to use. Kids are scheduled like they've always been, and we just keep moving forward. So it's not been a big hindrance to us. So
yeah. I mean, I wonder, I guess my question with you guys being homeschoolers, why, I don't have children. So, but why wouldn't someone in this kind of environment just start homeschooling versus just following, so what's the difference between what you're doing with homeschooling versus what the parents who are taking care of their kids and having to learn at home? I mean, it's just a different curriculum, right?
Yeah, to a certain extent. Of course, with us homeschooling, I'm seeing it from that side of it. But the in public school, regular school, they still have the teachers teaching. They still have that backdrop, and they still have the I'm trying to think of the word for it. They still have the ability that the kids are probably going to go back to school. There's still that broad scope, that it's a short period of time. For us, we're preparing for the long haul. Like we are going to do this. We're going to teach our kids at home and do the homeschooling. I think in the broader scope of things, for most people, it's like this is a short time period. And so, it might open their eyes that they like it and want to teach their kids, but for, it's not for everybody. There's good days and there's bad days, just like everything else. And luckily my wife takes care of most of it. So I don't have to take care of a lot of the homeschooling but it definitely takes a little bit of extra, and it's another part of a relationship, with your kid. You can't set that aside. It all ties together.
Yeah. It's, it would be interesting for the audience. I would love to hear if they've chosen to homeschool, if they were in public school or private school or what have you, going to school prior to COVID, and if they've switched over to a homeschooling program, and what kind of curriculum are you following? What kind of curriculum do you guys follow with your kids?
We use a program. It's a computer-based program called Alpha Omega Academy, and Switched On Schoolhouse. And what we like about it is it's structured. If our oldest is in 6th grade, so here's a start, here's a finish. This is what he's going to learn with these classes, and then we can go in and schedule our schedule, and put in, like, if we need days off, we know we got days coming off. It adjusts it within the system, so it really helps, and it also keeps track. So at the end of the year, for state records and such, we have the knowledge that we've got that we can provide that if we ever need to.
Yeah, and you're a homeschool graduate, right?
That's correct. Yes. Yep.
See?
So,
and look, you turned out all right.
I think so. Yeah, I think I'm all right.
That can be debated. Yeah.
What does Kurt have to say about that?
Yeah, that's debatable sometimes. Yeah. But when we homeschooled, of course, that was 20 years ago when we started homeschooling.
I graduated in 2006.
Yeah,
that was 20 years ago.
We started way back there.
How to get old.
Yeah, so our kids went through 4th and 6th grade in public school, and then we felt like we should homeschool them. And it was a decision; it's a responsibility to take on. But we did the same thing. We found a curriculum that we could live with, and that we could go by, and had some guidelines to help us down through there. But what we liked about it was flexible. I was traveling a lot for work, so the kids and Don, they'd load up. We'd go to places on work. They'd travel with me. I'd go to work. They'd go sightseeing, do history stuff. I got to go to D.C. So they got a lot of experiences with that. And everywhere we went was a school lesson. Mm-hmm. They'd write reports on what they saw that would fill in their language, their history, and those types of things. So it really turns into a lifestyle choice and a responsibility to carry that out.
Yep.
Yeah, and I see on your Facebook page and also on your website. So you guys go garden for. What is your Facebook page? Because I love watching your feed, and you guys have pictures with the grandkids riding the tractors. I mean, it's just such a. It makes me want to just jump out of my normal life and come and live with you guys.
Yeah, our Facebook page is Garden for Life.
Okay.
US, I think it is. That's our website. I believe that's the correct Facebook also. But the flexibility homeschooling gives. Chase lives there close to us, so this morning at 8:00, 2 of his boys was out, and we was outside doing things this morning, getting ready for deer season this coming couple weeks.
Well, and we had rain moving in about noon today, so it's been raining for about the past 3 days. So we all took the morning to be outside and do that. So
it is flexible. Then they went back in the house after we got done doing that type of stuff, and they're doing school this afternoon while it's raining. So that's the way we did with Chase and his sister. We made it flexible. Don was the teacher. I was the superintendent, and I usually come in and got them out of class and had them come help me and got in trouble for it.
That's awesome. She would give you the pink slip.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So you guys are in Missouri.
We are.
Right? And so yeah, I mean that is to me what the reason that I really wanted you all to be a part of this as we sort of kick this initiative off is that, I mean, to me, you really define what what practical homesteading, self-reliant, self-sustaining life can be. And you guys, you have your family business, your kids are a part of it. They're learning how to be self-reliant themselves. So you're not going to raise these kids who don't know how to screw in use a screwdriver or hammer a nail. Right. And I think that's really, where we need to get back to. And I think that's where the rewards are. And I call it the simple life. And I know it's not so simple, but,
raising kids so they can be productive in society, we all want to raise good kids, but it's better to raise good adults so that they can be productive.
So how did you guys get into the whole homesteading, and how did I mean, Chase, have you always worked with your parents? How did that all come about, and where did Garden for Life come into this whole? I mean, it's a perfect marriage.
Mhm. Well, for me, so I've had a couple other jobs outside of owning the businesses and stuff. But while I was doing those, I also got my realtor license, and so I do real estate here in Missouri. Started my own brokerage last year with that. So while we was doing all that, we've got another small manufacturing business. So while I was doing my other stuff, I was also helping. We live there at the family farm, so it just kind of we was integrated. And so while we was doing that, then the opportunity came up to purchase Garden for Life, and so Dad said, "Hey, got this opportunity. We, this is what we're thinking about." We was, of course, using the system, the Garden for Life system prior to. And I said, well, we're doing everything. We do a lot together.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'll be involved. I want to be a part of this as well. So it's just that, kind of growing up with that mentality of working with instead of working for mentality. And so that's always been something we've done. And it works well for our relationship and what we do. Some people say don't mix family and business, but you just got to know your boundaries, and they're different for everybody, but we do pretty well at it most days.
And most days, and when you come out the door, you get a sense if you need to give everybody space, for that day. So, and for Don and I, we're making decisions so that the family farm, the businesses and everything can transition to the next generation. So that's one of the things we're doing. And trying to get back to that family working together scenario. Everybody's life's a lot easier. Just like we got a wood furnace. I feed the furnace of a morning because I get up earlier. Chase feeds it of a night because he stays up later.
I'm a night owl. Yep.
Yeah. So little things like that just makes life so much easier.
So are you guys, so do you all live on what I call a family compound? I mean, that's where a lot of people are looking. I mean, because we have to help.
I call it a compound, but we are pretty close as far as the houses. When I graduated college, I moved home temporarily. Mom and Dad had built a house, and my wife and I moved in the old farmhouse temporarily like 10 years ago. So now we're looking to add on to it and make a little more room in it. So, we're there and we're committed. But it does work well in that regard. Like Dad was saying, we can share a lot of the responsibilities around the house. If they're gone traveling for work or for vacation, we're home, we're there, we can hold down the fort. And they bought the farm next to my grandparents, so grandma and grandpa are there too. So we've got plenty of babysitters if my wife and I need it. We got grandma and grandpa, we got great grandpa and great grandma. So there's just a lot of benefits to that family farm lifestyle.
Yeah. And if you think about it, historically, families stayed fairly close together regionally. It wasn't until the Industrial Revolution that people started scattering and families started dispersing everywhere and weren't there to help each other. So we just took a step back in that direction and are going through the ideas of the mental process of, okay, how do we get along well enough that we can live that close together and get things done?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, it just makes sense. And again, it just makes sense with, you turn on the news and people not getting their unemployment and being, losing their homes. And there's a lot of terrible, devastating, sad situations that people are experiencing right now, or illnesses, and I mean, COVID, right? If somebody gets sick. And I think it's just a really nice, I mean, not all families, unfortunately, have the bond that you all do. And I'm sure you have your good days and your bad days.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Like you say, what your boundaries are. And, I always say we're better together than we are apart. And whether it's the family you're born in, or even, to me, it's the family you choose too, I know that there's a lot of people, several of my friends who have, maybe one child or who's moved further away or what have you. We always talk about, and of course, my husband and I, who don't have any children, we always think about geez Louise, what happens when we get older? We don't want to be by ourselves. We need to be a part of a community. And that's what I love about what you guys are doing. And again, when I look at your social media feed and I follow you and I stalk you, and I see all of these little baby faces and all the beans and just the beautiful produce. I'm thinking that's it. So what would you guys say with someone who is living a more urban type lifestyle, if they're wanting to get into move into a direction like where more of a homestead, coming together as a community, a family? What would you say would be a few of the top things, the first steps that they could take or things to consider?
Yeah, I think don't get too big in the ideas at first. Start where you can. We got people who live in apartments focusing on the garden piece and the food part, who do patio gardens. Their life situation, they're living in an apartment. They may be okay there. They may be wanting to move out. Everybody's got their own situations, but they want to do something to provide for themselves. So, they got a few plants growing on their patio. They're doing things like that. They may be putting the 72-hour kit together, or the 30-day food supply together inside their apartment, or they can start doing that. And like you said, with the community, maybe they're starting to reach out and visit with some people that have that same mindset and that desire, and they're starting to put some friends together that they can do. But we just encourage people, start where you're at and start making little steps towards a bigger goal.
Yeah, that's so true. So tell me a little bit more about, because I probably need to do I need to probably do the 30 days, but right now is not gardening season.
Right.
But so let's say so I'm in Colorado, you guys are in Missouri, but so I start in February, and then what would I do, and how and where would I bring in the Garden for Life system?
Are you in what type are you in a suburban environment, apartment environment, or where do we want to start?
So I have a small backyard that has some beds, but not huge. So, probably less than, probably a third of an acre. I don't know. I'm terrible at determining. I open up to about 100-acre a ranch. So, but I can't plant on that land. But so I have my little piece. So if I were, I think that's really what I'm super committed to, is going into this next spring. I want to really focus on creating a great garden, because I find that this is something that we're going to have to do.
Yeah, and I agree. More people need to make that same decision. Just give a little background. The interesting part is we eat about 2,000 pounds of food a year, and 415 or 20 pounds of that is vegetables. So, we have the ability to grow most of our vegetables if we choose to, but we don't have to, and just grow a percentage. And that's where we're at. We're growing a percentage of the food that we eat. We're not self-sustainable yet. So, for a scenario like yours, you can grow a large portion of your family's groceries out in your backyard there. So you're talking about a bed. If we're going to talk Garden for Life system, we would say, find a spot that's sunny from 10 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You can grow almost everything you want to grow if you have that much sunlight during the day. Then we would, we're going to lay down some vegetation mat to get the grass stopped. We're going to build a raised bed. We're going to fill that raised bed with some quality growing medium that we sell and fertilize it with our essential elements. And then we're going to educate you on how to plant on the square inch. And people say, well, what do I plant? We always just say, plant what you eat. If I eat green beans and you don't like green beans, but you plant green beans and you never eat them, it didn't do you any good. So we'll educate people on the system and encourage them to plant what they eat.
And so there is education that you guys provide with your system and so forth.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a big piece of it. It looks so simple, and it really is once you get it in place. But you need to understand the steps of the system. We want a long-lasting system. It needs to last 20 years once we set the garden up. We want it to be highly reproductive, so we need to grow a lot of produce out of that garden, and we need it to be low labor or low maintenance. So it's got to be easy to do. It's got to last a long time. It's got to produce a lot of vegetables. So those are the goals for our system.
And it's got to be the vegetables that you want, that's our choice. So so Sean is asking, how much room do you need to grow enough food for a family of 6 using your system?
I'll jump. If you have a greenhouse, and I'm going to spout off greenhouse because that's the number that comes to my mind, but they say you need 100 square foot per person in a greenhouse setting to grow their vegetables. You need to almost double that out in the outside garden. With our raised bed system, you could probably go a little bit less than that, so maybe 1.5 times. We personally have 10 4x16 beds, so about 640 square feet of growing space in our garden. And everybody's eating out of it. We're not fully self-sufficient. I think we could be awful close to being 4 to 6 people in that space if we really managed it heavy. So that's kind of a roundabout vague answer, but probably between 120 to 150 square foot of quality raised bed would get you awful close if you managed it right.
Okay. Yeah. And then there's another question here that Jenna is asking is, and Jacqueline, we're going to come back to you about what we're drinking with our slimming hot cocoa. I'm going to be skinny by the end of this. But what's the difference in growing your own food versus getting it in the store? I mean, there's the obvious, it's going to taste better in my opinion, and it's less expensive, but I mean, what really are all of the benefits of growing your own food?
Well, some of it's the satisfaction. There's something about that, it's satisfying to grow something and see that process to completion to where you're harvesting it and getting a good product to eat. Like you said, it's going to taste better. And part of that comes from the nutrition. With our system, we got the essential elements that we put into every bed at every planting. And so, those plants have a great opportunity to absorb the nutrients. And then as they're growing, that just puts them into the produce that you get. So you get a very nutritious, tomato or green bean, cucumber, whatever. You get all that nutrition in there and the taste and all that. So that's one big benefit of it.
Yeah, and I'll jump in there on the nutrition side. The government, USDA, has been studying nutrition in our food supply since the 1950s. So every decade they do the same study over. As an example, grocery store spinach in general, there'll be some variances if you're doing organic spinach or some specialty spinach, but grocery store spinach today, it takes 80 cups of spinach to equal 1 cup of nutrition spinach, 1 cup of spinach nutrition value as in 1950. So and it takes like 8 ears of corn. It's just crazy the nutrient depletion of our foods, and you can't knock commercial agriculture. I don't want to do that because we're feeding the world. But the reality is the nutrition value of our grocery store food is down dramatically.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. So there are a lot of the folks here on Homestead Basics. They have amazing gardens and they're, homesteaders and what have you. But I can't tell you the number of people who have come to me and said, what do I do? How do I start this? So in this particular situation, I am one of those people saying, okay, what do I start with my small garden? How much time do I need to give myself? When should I start? How do I go about? I'm gonna go to Garden for Life, and I'm gonna talk to you guys, and you're gonna help me walk through what I need, based on what my goals are. So what would that process look like?
Well, like I said, a phone call is best, just so we can talk it through. Knowing where you're from, so that you know like how long your growing season is a great place to start. And then that also lets you know kind of what kind of foods you can grow, and you decide what you like and what you can grow in that environment. And then having a good spot for a raised bed, the correct sunlight, being close to a water source, convenient to your house, and then what else would you say from there?
And selecting your variety of seeds that you're wanting to plant for your time zone or for your growth zone. We've got a neat little garden planner on our website that can be beneficial. Shows you when to start planting or plant them inside, when you can plant them outside based on your growing area. So there's a lot of tools out there that we can point you towards to help you get started. And like I said, it seems overwhelming if you haven't done it, but once it's in place, it's very easy.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's like anything, starting it is the most challenging. So, and then of course, now do you guys have distributors that people can purchase your system? And what is the difference between your system, having your system versus not having your system? And how do people get your system beyond just going to your website? Is that the only way to get it?
So we do have a couple regional distributors. We're still working on, we purchased the business right at 3 years ago. So setting up distributors is one of our business tactics that we're pursuing, hoping to get it out there to get the product closer to more people. But for right now, the best way to get it, if you're not right here in Southwest Missouri, is through our website and calling us, and we can help with that. The benefits of a system is that Garden for Life has been around 20 plus years. Started as Gardening Revolution, the company did. So over 20 years, there's been success, and the proven success of the system is a great place to start, because if you just kind of go out there, I'm going to try this, going to do that, you might not be successful, and you might hurt your chances of continuing your gardening. So we said, when we went to select, moving the company forward from Gardening Revolution to Garden for Life, one of the things we wanted to do is we wanted people to think about how they could garden for life. Whether that means from the self-sustainability, as I'm growing my food because I need to eat and I want to garden for life, or I've never gardened and I want to garden, and you set somebody up successfully, they can garden for life because they have a system in place that is productive. Yeah. We estimate that once our system is set up in place, it's weed free. Starts out weed free with a little bit of diligence on your part. You can keep it that way. Yeah. So it's a loose, well draining material. So you don't have to have a tiller or a hoe or anything. You don't have to have a lot of those tools. Our 10 beds, while the produce is growing, harvest days are different, but we've got a watering system in place. So those 10 beds take 10 to 15 minutes a day. Just make sure, you don't have any pests. The watering system's working correctly. Everything's doing like it's supposed to. So your labor cost is way down. So a lot of people say, well, I'm busy, I can't go garden. I just can't add that to my day. I work 9 to 5 and come home after dinner. The kids got schoolwork, or they've got to go to ball practice. With a system like ours, you can still get out there and garden, and your garden taking care of itself for the most part, so that it's not a second job to you.
Yeah, and if somebody will apply the system and they'll plant it and water it after they get it set up, we can give them some pretty good assurance they got a high probability of success. Mm-hmm. And many times you go out there, if you're tilling in the garden, or even if you set up a raised bed, you're just taking chances because you really don't know what you're putting in there. And you go to the store and you buy what you think is good material to put in your raised bed, and it may or may not be good. And there's a lot of ways to garden. We just know that the Garden for Life system, when it's applied, gives folks a high probability of success.
So that's awesome. So for someone like me that is just getting my gardens going, I would figure out my growing season. I would contact you guys. We'd work out, you'd give me some pointers because I need a whole lot of them. And then it basically is my kit, is my starter. And it's not only a starter, it it allows me to continue to grow simply with everything I need. Then I had to get my seeds, but otherwise it's all the tough stuff that you don't really know what to do, you know?
Right. And
how to
it
start.
takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. Of course, gardening, when you're growing a live plant, there's variables there, and it's different every year.
Yeah.
Last year we had great, or we didn't have good sweet potatoes. This year we grew an abundance of sweet potatoes, and they're the same varieties, just different season. The weather, all that kind of thing takes in effect. But with the system, it's a good probability of success, and it just makes life easier. And next year's the same way. We can show you how to maintain that bed into the coming years so that you have the same probability of success.
That is awesome. And so, what are you guys doing during the winter? I mean, do you have a growing garden right now, or now that it's getting cold, what do you?
We planted a fall garden, some salad stuffs, and we used some contractor plastic over the beds and make a low tunnel. And we've had, for several years, we've had fresh salad for Christmas dinner for the family, and then just kind of let it go. Last year, we maintained it all through the winter, and so when we started planting this spring, we also was tearing out stuff from the fall and winter that had grown and matured out during all winter last year.
Yeah. And we got customers all across the United States. We even got a gentleman out there in the Pikes Peak region that's growing way up high. I believe his outside growing season was 40 days. So he spends most of his time in the greenhouse growing. But so it can be applied anywhere, and it's a cycle. You don't have to be done gardening when summer hits. You can garden year round.
Well, and I think, again, it's that's where you come into the homeschooling, right? I mean, how amazing to show your children where their food is coming from and to involve them in the process, so it doesn't. I mean, that's kind of, to me, what the ultimate is all about. If that's I keep going back. My nieces, they are trying to figure out how to do the homeschooling thing by not because they chose to, but because their schools have closed, and it's been crazy. And I'm like, I think that this is a better solution anyway. So overall, it's awesome. So you guys, Chase, I did not know that you were a real estate broker, so you could help me find land.
You bet. I can help you with the garden on it. So they tie together very well.
That's awesome. That is fantastic. So I can find land. I can get my garden. I have my nutraceuticals. I have my skinny hot cocoa.
You bet. Yeah.
What more could I want? This is amazing. Well, thank you guys. This has been good fun. I appreciate you being a part of this, and it's interesting to me to hear the difference in your perspective and what 2020 has looked like for you guys versus what 2020 has looked like for some other people. Of course, it's just another year like anything else where we all have a different story, but I think that we've all have a few extra challenges, and it's nice to have a spot in the world like you guys do. So
and I think you need to be careful not to take away from the struggles folks are having, because they have struggles. But for us, we just haven't seen that big of a problem for us. We don't have to go to the store every day, or we don't even need to go to town for the next 30 days if we don't want to. And as long as the business keeps going, and we, of course, you need internet, you need those types of things, and we're doing videos instead of meetings. So, figuring out how to change and go with it, that's just part of life. And but you don't want to downplay the struggles folks are having, because it is a struggle and can be a struggle. Just what can we do to lessen the struggle?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if someone, so Garden for Life, garden.us, garden number 4 life.us. Also Garden for Life on Facebook, and you can peek inside their lives and also stalk them like I do. And then if people have questions, I mean, this is what I've loved about knowing you all is I know that I can pick up the phone and get a hold of you, and you can kind of guide me. So if people have questions or what have you, can they just reach out to you and say, hey, tell me a little bit more about that homeschooling curriculum. Tell me a little bit more about that, about, hey, I want to buy land in Missouri. I want to start my garden, or I need to know what kind of tractor should I get? Can they reach out to you?
Well, yeah, they can reach out to us anytime. We may even show them some nutrition stuff, but call us at 417-736-3251. Email us at info@gardenforlife.us. Send us a message on Facebook, or just however you want to contact us. Feel free. We'll be honest with you and just share what we know.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you'll share your skinny hot cocoa.
No, we'd love to do that.
This is amazing. No, I'm very, very excited about this. And from the same company, you guys shared with me the hand sanitizer, which I have absolutely blown through. It has been amazing because the Purell and all of those other sanitizers, they dry my hands, especially being in this altitude, in this arid environment that I'm in here in Colorado. So I just leave it in my car and I spray my hand every time I get in my car. It has been amazing. So I don't remember exactly the name of it. All I know is where it is and that it works. So if you guys are needing something like that for nurses and doctors and first responders who are always having to wash their hands, it's probably not going to be hospital grade, but just when you get out of the hospital, whatever, and you just for your own personal use, it is good stuff that's created by a doctor, from my understanding, right?
And he actually uses it in his surgical rooms on wound care and different things. So it is, a premium product.
Yeah, that's one thing I've really enjoyed. There's a lot of really great products out there that are kind of an alternative to what we are fighting for on the shelves. There's some other things that we don't have to fight for that actually work better. So anyway,
when they ship it to your door, you don't even have to go to the store.
Yeah, absolutely. That with some of the skinny chocolate. You know where my priorities are, right? Hey, you guys, thank you so much. It was so much fun to chat with you and kind of get inside your brain, and we might do this again. There's always a lot to learn. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, great talking to you. Thanks.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye, you guys.